Welcome to Spider-Verse Minute, the tri-weekly podcast where we watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 1 minute at a time. I'm Sean Slater.
And I'm his sister Caroline.
And today we're watching minute 3 of the movie, which begins with a cartoon intro of a Spider-Man TV show and ends with a boy who doesn't know the lyrics to a song.
For those of you keeping track, I have named this minute Peter Parker Intro Part 2 / Miles Sings.
I like this at the end of the last minute we saw the hints of this intro, but we get the intro to the Spider-Man 67 TV show cartoon.
The show that sparked 1,000 memes once the internet was born. There are literally so many memes from this show that I feel like the only reason I know the show is because of the memes.
Yeah, it was a very interesting show.
It was of its time. It was of its time.
Yes.
But it's also one of the most iconic theme songs.
Yeah, definitely.
The Simpsons joke of it. I joke of it all the time. The classic Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. It's great. Like, I think I actually reference that more often. The only other theme song that I could think could rival it is Batman.
Yeah, the
Batman. Yeah, that one.
From the Distinguished Competitors.
They're just so catchy and campy and funny. I don't know, like, no one really gives a crap about the other intros from that time period. I do immediately after the Spider-Man theme, because I believe the line is like, best theme song ever, and So-So Popsicle.
Yeah, that popsicle is terrifying.
It's horrifying. I love that they just call it So-So.
Yeah, I was able to trace back that picture from a Dorkly post in 2014 where they were showing terrifying popsicles and this one popped up. But again, this is a real product that you could buy. It was a popsicle.
I think we've almost bought it once, or like almost got it once, because I remember, it's a weirdly vivid memory I have, but we were at someone's garage place and they had like a half pipe and these all like ice cream truck themes, and I had a Powerpuff Girls one because I loved Bubbles.
Yeah.
And she just became terrifying by the end of eating it. I don't think I could even finish it. But I remember I almost grabbed the Spider-Man one, but I grabbed Bubbles instead because she's my girl.
Yes, I remember that.
Oh, I'm so glad I'm not crazy. I remember getting the ice cream.
I don't remember getting the ice cream, but I do remember where you're talking about.
I might have been the only one who got the ice cream.
Yeah, I remember trying to skateboard in the half pipe.
Yeah.
And not doing too well.
I didn't do that. I just ran back and forth.
I mean, you were probably like 5 maybe when you were 5.
So I was tiny.
I don't know if it was in Conneaut Lake or
that was it.
Somewhere near there, but
I don't remember, but I just remember they had this cooler and I got a Powerpuff Girls ice cream and I was so excited because I always wanted one, but Mom would never buy them.
Yeah, that was with some cousins.
Yeah, and after seeing the So-So Popsicle, I'm a little grateful for that.
Yeah, I don't think all of them were that terrifying.
No.
Because
no, they weren't.
That would be bad if they were designed that way. That looks just like it was left out in the sun too long.
I do love that. That might be my favorite reference of all the whole sequence. That So-So Popsicle.
Yeah.
What else happens? Because we're at the very end of the montage. We have the montage of him getting beaten up.
Yeah, by 3 villains. Oh, wait. One thing real quick. If you go frame by frame, Peter's actually smashed into the popsicle.
No way!
Yeah, he... So this is where we can transition into the villains that are introduced to us. But you can see his shoulder appear as he's getting pushed by one of Doc Ock's arms, and then he gets, like, his face turns into, like, covers the popsicle, so it's the same exact place.
I did notice that.
And then when he gets hit against the wall, it smash cuts into, like, the wall being cracked.
I did notice it smash cut. I didn't know that they had him starting to get in before then. That's so clever.
Yeah, it's a really cool transition.
Yeah, that's 6 seconds because I brought up, it was the first time I ever like registered that it was Doc Ock's arm slash appendage. And
Yeah,
the thing I really like about this is that they don't show Doc Ock's face.
it's interesting because the other two villains
I know.
we do see.
Yeah, but they don't show Doc Ock's, and I'm like, okay.
We see
Kingpin and Green Goblin, right?
yeah, and this Green Goblin takes modeled after the Ultimate version. He's very different from the Green Goblin from the Sam Raimi movies.
That actually really took me by surprise the first time I see it, because I was, like I've said earlier, I was really only familiar with the Sam Raimi movies. I didn't know many other versions of the characters until later, and even then it was just a select few of them. So to see this version of Green Goblin was very cool to me. It's like, whoa, Green Goblin's giant.
Yeah, when I first saw Green Goblin, I thought he might have been the Lizard villain.
I made a similar mistake later in the movie, but switched to them.
Especially because Earth 65, in where Spider-Gwen is from, in that universe, Peter turns into the Lizard, trying to become like her, and so I thought they might be going along that line of having him be the villain, having the Lizard be the villain for Gwen, kind of parallel that. But I have the first appearances of the three villains that we see. So Doc Ock's appendage appears first in The Amazing Spider-Man, number 3, which was published in July 1963.
Really? Doc Ock was first appeared in 1963.
And then Kingpin we have appears in issue 50 of The Amazing Spider-Man in 67. And Green Goblin first appears in issue 14 of The Amazing Spider-Man in 1964. So these are villains that have been around
For a long time.
Yeah, pretty much since the inception of Spider-Man. That they've always been his sort of villains.
And it makes sense for the time. Like, they're corny in many editions, and in concept they're a bit over the top.
Yeah, Kingpin.
Not so much Kingpin. He's a pretty typical, mobster. But Green Goblin and Doc Ock definitely are, like, over the top and definitely fit that 60s early comics vibe.
Yeah, and then also in this scene is when we see Peter fighting in front of the reactor, or the collider. Peter and Green Goblin are fighting each other, and then an explosion happens and knocks them both back.
During that explosion, that's because they mention later about a huge earthquake that happens. And so I'm like, oh, so this is the moment. They actually show us that moment, and this was the first time I realized. It's like, oh, this is the moment they're talking about.
Yeah, it took me a couple of viewings to realize, like, oh, this is the stuff that the fight that we're seeing with the Green Goblin is literally just from the night before. I kept thinking, like, oh, this is from a while ago. This is just him generically fighting. But I also think this could be when the spider that we see in the previous minute, when we see that Alchemax spider crawling down in front of the collider, I think this might be when it gets blasted and gets its powers, or gets the ability to, when it gets all glitchy.
I don't know if is there anything else you want to add into this before I talk about the next smash cut into our main character?
Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this Peter Parker.
So I do want to talk about the smash cut because it might be one of my favorite smash cuts. So the whole montage ends with Spider-Man saying, because there's only one and only Spider-Man, and you have this big epic music in the background, and then it smash cuts to Miles in his room singing Sunflower by Post Malone and Sway Lee, I think is how it's pronounced, which is a very R&B hip-hop style song. So it's like a complete 180 from this epic sound, and it's just almost, it's such a shock smash. I genuinely love it. And to see Miles just in there acting like a kid, just kind of jamming along, bopping his head, coloring in one of his tags while this music plays, and him, like you said, not exactly knowing the lyrics. Like, this is like, I know I do that all the time with music. It's like, just fade out when I don't know the lyrics. I thought it was very funny and relatable.
I knew I was really gonna love this movie. Like before, I had like, okay, this is gonna be fun, but I knew it was gonna be like, oh, this is gonna be really cool looking. Is when he taps the marker on his throat, and you see the like tap lines appear.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, this is gonna have some really cool effects in it.
This really feels like the first time it's like the animation kind of showing off on just how fluid and how beautiful it is. That whole section where the camera is just panning around Miles during this, and you see all of just how smooth Miles, like, doing all of these little, like, the head bob, like the tapping the throat, like, even just little facial movements are just seamless.
Yeah, and it's just a 24-second smooth pan around of Miles.
And that's very hard to do in animation. Continuous, one shot, and it's just, I think I watched that section like 20 times when taking notes on this, just because I couldn't get over how beautiful it was. And it really is just kind of a small moment of just them showing off their animation skills, and I appreciate it. I remember you first telling me how they had to create their own program to animate this.
Yeah, so a lot of the way the shading is, they had to really redevelop the way that the shading really works. When you first cut in
Miles.
And you see his hand, the way the shading is done on the hand is it's actually just like darker lines where shading should happen.
It's very comic book.
Yeah.
I remember you saying like they put a comic book to life.
Yeah, there's a lot of different areas where, like, you know, you see the panels and you see, you know, motion lines.
Like the tapping of the marker, like you said.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that comes up later is like when you see the actually no, it came up earlier in the montage, the spider sense. Like you get to see the spider sense.
Yeah, the spider sense shows wiggly lines on it.
The just huge shout out to the people who made the animation, who animated the movie, because it really is like no other movie out today, ever before, or I don't know, like, who knows what it's going to do for animation in the future. It's just stunning. It's a stunning movie.
Another really interesting thing about this part of the scene is that it was one of the later scenes they animated, and they didn't have the song completed when they started it. I mean, it made it a lot easier when you don't know the lyrics, because you don't know what the lyrics are.
Is that why he's kind of dipping in and out of lyrics?
They were still in the process of writing this as it was being animated. They were in the process of writing the song. That scene was always in as like, okay, if we're gonna have this scene, it just took them a really long time to figure
amazing.
out what the song's actually gonna be.
I did not know that they animated that before they even had the song finished, so that's really cool. I do love the song. I also love that it is the first intro we have to Miles, because it sets up so much that, you know, he's a kid, he's young, he goofs. I love that we're seeing him make a tag. Again, reinforcing that whole graffiti and Miles together.
And all of them have Miles drawn in different ways.
Yes, I love that. I love that we get a peek at his sketchbook. Did you notice that like under his sketchbook and even above his drawing desk looks like superhero posters?
Yeah, that yellow and black one looks like it's Batman.
Ooh, Miles is a Batman fan.
And it kind of looks like the legs of Superman. The big blue, red and blue one might be Superman.
I like to think of them as like Miles drew them. And like another thing I notice is that like when it's panning, you get a glimpse of his desk and you see like a really like kind of crudely drawn face.
Yeah, it looks like something he drew when he was younger.
And I'm like, is that an early Miles drawing?
You see a lot of drawing supplies thrown about.
Yeah, like I love that they're showing he's an artist, and even that desk that he's on is very traditional, used by animators, especially when hand drawing.
Yeah.
If you go to like Disney or something and you go into like an animation studios, they still have those, especially when doing hand drawing or making art, because it gives you just a really good angle and you're not like, it doesn't hurt your back, you can get great light. So I also love the fact that he's like on an animator or a drawing desk. I love that they pushed the fact that he's an artist in just this super like 3 seconds or something. The only other thing I have in here is just a visual, like the right before the smash cut, we get a close up on Spider-Man's eyes, and you get a reflection of the city in his eyewear.
You do?
Yeah, it's like not a perfect reflection, but yeah, you get a reflection of the skyline. I have it at 26 seconds.
Oh, there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was just like it's like just tiny details like that I love.
Yeah.
Like the subtle facial movements in the animation. Like I love things like that. But that's really all I have for this minute. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that covers everything I have for this minute. Thank you for listening to our first week of the movie. We'll be back on Monday with minute 4.
Name will be revealed then.
And if you want to follow us, you can follow us on Twitter at SpiderVerseMin, or on Instagram, Spider-Verse Minute. And then if you just search for us on Facebook and YouTube, you can find us Spider-Verse Minute. It's pretty much Spider-Verse Minute everywhere except Twitter. You can email us at podcast@spiderverseminute.com and let us know what you think. If you have any comments or thoughts on upcoming minutes, we'd love to hear them. And you can find us on Google Play, at Spotify, iTunes, and wherever your podcasts are sold. Although if you buy this, you're getting ripped off.
Yeah, don't buy it.
Visit our website for more information at spiderverseminute.com.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.